Hi everyone, my name is Teacher Ilona. For those that are new here, welcome to my YouTube channel. For those of my subscribers, welcome back to my channel. On my channel, I do business studies videos for grades 10, 11 and 12. So if that's something you're interested, please do give this video a like and please do give this video a follow, as these are the concepts that I will be uploading. In today's video, we will be going into the microenvironment, looking further in detail into the 8 business management functions. So stay tuned and enjoy. As mentioned, we'll be going through the business functions in the microenvironment for grade 10 business studies in this video. Please note that I take no credit in the content given in these slides and in this video. I have made use of the information given from government. I've added the resources down in the link below, and I've also added it at the end of my video with resources. So please make sure that you go check that out. You can download the learner book free of charge and study from that as a nice study guide. All right. So the microenvironment, the 8 business functions, let's get started. If I do look slightly down, it's just because I've got the slides on a screen a little bit below than what I'm recording off. All right, so here are the 8 business functions. So we're looking at general management, administration function, financial function, purchasing function, public relation function, marketing function, human resource function, and the production function. All right, so let's look at the introduction and the overview first. So when we're looking at this topic contributes to the success of a business. The business functions are the activities that are being carried out by the business. So they can be split into 2 categories. Firstly, we have the core functions, and secondly, we have the support functions. The core functions are the activities that generate an income, such as the production function. The support functions, there we're looking at the assistance with the production of goods, such as the marketing function. There's a nice diagram, just so you can see how they are all interlinked, right? So all of the functions will report to the general management, all right? The general management, you can see that all of the areas report to the general management. And the general management needs to make sure that all of the functions are running smoothly. And should there be issues or hiccups, that they can resolve that. So what is the purpose of the 8 business functions, you may ask yourself? Well, it's to achieve the business goals, to work together to ensure the survival and the sustainability of the business. It's supporting specific types of aims and objectives. So for example, the marketing function is involved in achieving targets linked to developing new markets or increasing sales. Also, each of the business functions carry out a task that is related to each particular area. So when we're looking at the particular areas, the public relation function is going to carry out tasks related to public relations and the public image. The marketing function is going to look at the marketing of the business and carrying out those functions. So it's very important to know that they all interlink and they work together towards the end goal, but each of them individually have their own tasks and goals. And then when it mentions developing new markets, that's if a business wants to expand and perhaps provide different products or go into a different, go and attract a different target market. So those are the things that we're looking at there. The relationship between the business functions. The 8 business functions, so this is, as I said before, they depend on one another. So they need one another to operate. And they are interrelated. So as I mentioned, they're all working individually, but interrelated. They need to all work together. And these functions work together as a team for the business to be successful. All right, then just a snippet, small piece into each of the business functions, and then we will dive more properly into the functions later in the video. So the general management function. This is directly linked to all the 7 business functions. The financial and administration function is responsible for gathering, storing, and processing information and financial records. The purchasing, production, and marketing functions are responsible for the delivery of the goods. The public relations function promotes the business and ensures that there is a good relationship between the business and the public consumers. The marketing function, this promotes the selling of the product that the production function has produced. And then the human resource function is responsible for sourcing and appointing skilled staff. Now we're going to look in each one specifically. So the general management. All right, there's a very big difference here between leadership and management. Very, very important. This can be a very nice question in the test or an exam. So do make sure that you make a note there, NB for important. General management sets direction and strategy for the business throughout, creating a vision and mission for the business. And it ensures that these are achieved through goals and objectives. If you missed that out and you need more information on that, please follow my microenvironment video where I dive more in depth with the vision, mission, goals, and objectives. Effective planning, organizing, activating, leading, directing, and controlling of resources and functions is necessary. If these tasks are too much for one person, they can be delegated to other staff members. It has 3 levels, each of its own responsibilities and roles, which ensure that there is coordination amongst all 7 different functions of the business. So, going into these a bit more specifically. So when we're talking about the organizing, the planning, the organizing, the activating, the controlling, in that we're looking at, should there be a plan that we're putting in place? We need to make sure that let's say, for example, we want to bring out a new product. Is there a plan of how we're going to do that? What is the budget? Did we do all the research? Then we need to organize, get the people involved, get them to actually participate and help with this project. And then activating is actually putting it into place, and then so on and so forth. But we will go through that in further detail. And then delegated to other staff members. So get other staff members involved if the work is too much, the task is too much for one person to take on. All right, so we're going to be looking at all the different levels of management in more detail with all their responsibilities. Top level managers. So their responsibility is to plan the future by setting goals and objectives. They make long-term strategic decisions. So that's what will the business do and why are they doing it. Then the alignment between the levels. The top level management holds the most authority and communicates instructions to the middle level managers. So the examples of type of positions in an organization is your CEO, your MD, or your chairperson on the board. Moving on to middle level managers, also called functional level managers, and they're responsible for functions. Make medium-term tactical decisions, so that's how will a business carry out these strategic decisions? They are being made on top, now they're figuring out how will they be carried out. They turn the tactical decisions into action, so they're the ones that actually get the ball rolling. They monitor activities in departments to give suggestions and feedback. Now, when you're looking at the alignments, they are the second level of authority. You've got the top level management, and now this is the middle level management. They interpret instructions from top level managers, and they communicate the instructions to the lower level managers. So examples of these type of positions, we're looking at a marketing manager, a production manager, a financial manager, and a human resource manager. Lower level managers and their responsibilities. They are responsible for smaller work areas, more specialized for teams of workers. They implement the objectives by the middle level managers by making routine decisions, and they handle the day-to-day activities. There's short-term planning with them, setting individual objectives for the workers, allocating tasks on a daily basis, and then providing feedback to the middle level managers. The alignment between the levels. This interprets instructions of middle level managers to activate strategic planning of top level managers and tactical planning of the middle level managers. So the type of positions here. It's the foreman in the production department. It's the supervisor in the sales department. So as mentioned, all these managers are going to report to each other. The lower level will report to the middle, and the middle will report to the top. All three levels need to make sure that they are aligning the business decisions and that the business decisions are being carried out. And as I said, it's being filtered out. But your lower level managers are looking more at your day-to-day routine work, and that will contribute to the end goal, but they also deal with the day-to-day issues and the day-to-day problems that arise that the middle level managers most likely won't come across. And should an issue not be able to be handled by the lower level managers, that's when the middle level managers will get involved. So the management tasks. The management tasks are tools used by an organization to help complete projects more effectively by organizing and prioritizing related tasks. So there are 5 basic management tasks. We've been through these: planning, organizing, leadership, controlling, and risk management. So let's look at these. When it comes to planning, they always have a saying, and I love it. You fail to plan, you plan to fail. If you don't have a plan in place, how do you expect to be going somewhere, to be en route somewhere? It's like taking a road trip and you didn't make a plan. You're just getting in the car and you're driving. You don't know where you're going. You don't know where you're going to stop. And as spontaneous and great as that sounds, that can also lead to disasters. So plans, especially in a business environment, very, very, very important. So this is the process in which a manager considers the future. It sets goals and objectives. It decides how to carry out activities in business to achieve goals and objectives. So the manager may ask themselves these following questions when they're doing their planning. So why? Why is this plan necessary? Why do we need it? Where must the planned activities take place? Who will carry out the activities? What activities are needed to carry out the plan? When will these activities start? And then how should the plan be carried out? So the following steps can be used to make a plan. Also, very nice question to ask. And these steps have to be in order. So another important point here. So step 1, we obtain all information. Step 2, we analyze the information and we set long-term goals. 3, we consider different plans to achieve these goals. 4, we choose the best plan. 5, we decide on a backup plan, like a contingency plan. 6, we implement the chosen plan. And then 7, we follow up to make sure that the plan actually was successful. So, putting this into practice, the company will look and collect all the information and see that their sales has dropped. Perhaps they are a retail store and they've noticed their sales for shoes have drastically dropped. So, they're going to need to obtain that information. Go source that information and see, is this accurate? So they get all the data and they see, yes, month by month, it is getting less and less and less. Now, they need to look at this and say, okay, what are we going to do? Are we perhaps going to get the shoes from a different supplier? Are we perhaps going to send out surveys and ask the clientele why they aren't buying our shoes? Are we perhaps going to put a special on our shoes and try and look in market research and see maybe our shoes are the most expensive within the market? Then we are going to consider a different plan. So we can have a few plans in place. Okay, as I mentioned, a few options. Then we're going to choose the best plan. Okay, so we choose that we're going to do a huge sale on our shoes, because that way we'll get our name out there, we'll get advertisements, people will come wear our shoes, and our sales will go up. So this is the plan. But then we need to decide on a backup plan. So the backup plan is, should this not work, then we are going to use a different supplier. So even if we've dropped our prices, people are still not buying our shoes, different supplier. Now we need to implement this plan. Okay, so we make the posters, we send it out on social media, we have a couple videos on YouTube advertising that we're having the sale, and it's for the whole weekend, let's say in May. Then we need to follow up and see, okay, from the sale, obviously from the sale, our sales would have gone up. Okay, even if it's a small percentage. After that, we need to see, did the sales of shoes in general increase or not? Will we need to use that backup contingency plan, or were we able to fix the problem? Moving on to organizing. Organizing is a process. It is a mechanism used to execute a plan. So we're looking at what needs to be done. Organizing resources, so like the people, in such a way that we meet the goals and objectives. The resources include materials, human and financial resources. Training is included to ensure that the job or jobs are being carried out successfully. And then organizing the jobs within the specific functions or departments. Leading. Letting the staff know what needs to be done. What is the plan, as we mentioned? And by when it needs to be done. That's very important. We need a due date. We need to know when is this going to be done. And maybe perhaps we've got an end goal, so our shoe sale. Everything needs to be done and in place by May. But within that time, we need to do the YouTube ads, we need to put up posters, we need to go on social media. So there might be smaller deadlines in between, and that's perfectly fine. Most plans and most projects have that. Then the process of leading is to guide, motivate, and inspire others. Let others know, why is it important? Why do we need to put this plan in place? A leader provides people with direction. A leader activates workers and inspires them to take action and do their jobs well. They motivate the employees to achieve set goals and targets. Leaders must set up proper communication channels. Then controlling. This is to establish performance standards and ensure that those standards are being met. Control is about making sure or checking that activities are being carried out according to the plan. If things were meant to be done at a certain stage and things were supposed to be done at these due dates, we need to check, are those actually being done, or do we need to apply pressure? Do we need to tell the team, listen, we're not meeting our deadlines? This is done through careful observation and by asking people for feedback. How's the project going? How's it going? Please let me know by Friday if you're able to meet the deadline. It compares actual results with goals set by management. Corrective measures must be taken if there is a difference from the actual results and the goals set out by the business. Management must investigate reasons for failure. So what are the reasons for the failure? Was it that the team didn't execute the plan properly? Or was it perhaps that the target market just didn't want to buy our shoes? Continuous control ensures that businesses run smoothly. Risk management. Identify possible risk by finding risk-bearing activities. So these are things like looking and making a list of things that could go wrong. with an organization. Assist businesses to analyze each possible risk and how likely it is that it will happen. Evaluate the potential impact of risks in terms of financial liability. Control or monitor the risk by studying reports and trends in the environment so that measures can be taken to prevent it from happening. Handle the risks by determining what actions to take should the event happen using available resources. So, when looking at that, perhaps a risk of all these people coming is that there could be a stampede, there could be overcrowding. So, what will we do in those circumstances? Okay, so having plans in place in case these risks do occur. In case there's a risk of a fire, what are we going to do? What is the plan? All right, administration function. So the administration function is responsible for all tasks and activities in the handling of information, management of information, office practices, and information technology. So these activities, as mentioned above, can be used for decision making. Handling of information. So with this, we're looking at collecting data from inside and outside of the business, processing this data into information, storing this information, and ensuring the information is correct and reliable. So an example is there is a big difference between data and information. Data is doing a survey and getting all the question papers, all the questionnaires done. That is data. How do we interpret it? We see that every second person that walks into our store buys a handbag. That is turning that data into information, and that's what they're referring to here. Management of information. Information needs to be regularly updated, correct, and complete. The following information should be important for accounting records. We need financial statements, budgets, an estimated income and estimated expenses, statistics, trends and calculations such as arithmetic mean, frequency, distribution, mean, median, and range. Cost accounting, calculating how much does it cost to make a product, keeping in mind the raw materials and the labor and all the other costs involved, the overheads like the electricity and the rent. Office practice. Office practice includes handling of mail, copying documents, filing, and the network system. Information technology. Information technology includes the use of computers. The advantage of using information technology include we can have improved communication in the business amongst all departments. There's an improved communication with customers, suppliers, and other external stakeholders. There's an automatic capturing and processing of data through programs such as Pastel, which is an accounting program. Improved financial systems with records of sales through scanning devices and POS, so it's a point of sale system, where stock and debtors are updated immediately. So it's when you go to the shop, as the items are being scanned, it's busy going into the accounting system, checking the stock. So the stock is being checked constantly. Scanning documents to be used in the business. Computerized storage devices such as memory sticks, CDs, DVDs, and hard drives. So, as mentioned before, there is a distinction between data and information. So data is referring to the raw unprocessed facts found in graphs and tables. Data can be collected from other business functions within the business. Data needs to be processed before it can be used as information. Data can be processed manually or by using technology such as computers. Information, on the other hand. This refers to processed data that provides information to managers in order to make decisions. Information can be stored manually in file computers. It is important to have a backup of all information that is stored on computers or electronic devices in case they are damaged. Most businesses make use of electronic devices such as memory sticks, external hard drives, and CDs to store information. Moving on to the third one. I made a little mistake here in the slides. It's supposed to say the financial function. The functional function. I was going to remove it, but I thought let's leave it for a laugh. The financial function. Right, so the meaning of the financial function. Here we're talking all about the money. The financial function involves the acquiring and utilization of funds necessary for effective operations. Businesses need a regular stream of income to pay their expenses. Financial function is responsible for planning and managing of all the funds and the assets of a business. Financial activities include planning how much money will be needed, obtaining this money, managing money in all the departments, and planning and overseeing investments. So, should the marketing function want 100,000 Rand to make pamphlets so they can do the sales, they will need to check with the financial function, financial department, if they can do this, if they can go ahead and do this. We have types and sources of finances. So we've got our own finances and we also have borrowed finances. Money that owners supply, so the own funds, is money that owners supply as capital or profit from operations. The number of owners who contribute depends on the form of ownership, and there is no interest to be paid. Borrowed funds. These are funds borrowed in the form of debt. It can be borrowed from individuals, financial institutions, or they can buy on credit. It can be long-term or short-term. Interest needs to be paid, and there may be grants. Sources of financing. So, sources of own funds. Personal savings, retained profits from a previous year, selling of assets. Sources of borrowed funds. Friends and family can borrow you money. There are loans, bank overdrafts, trade credit, installment sale, lease, and debentures. Budgeting. A budget is a written document showing planned income and expected expenses for a specific period of time. Once a budget is drawn up, it should be compared to the actual income and expenditure. Budgets enable businesses to keep track of their finances and ensure better profitability. Each department with a business should have its own budget. Right, so when we're saying we're comparing, so our budget was to use 200,000. When we come to the actual amounts, did we make use of 2,000 or did we go over that? So are we over budget or under budget? So there can be short-term budgeting, so that's 1 month to less than a year. There's medium-term, which is about a year budgeting. And there's long-term, so for a number of years. The purpose of drawing up a plan. So why are we going to draw up a plan? What is important? We need to plan ahead. Compare the actual income and expenditure to the amounts budgeted. Control expenditure. Check the income. Show possible future financial problems. So perhaps we're doing this budgeting and we're seeing, you know what, if we're going to pay off this, if we're going to rent this billboard every month, come 2-3 years time, we are going to be bankrupt. So that's also the importance of budgeting, and decisions can then be made after that if it's a good idea or not a good idea to invest in something like that. Business sources of income and expenditure include income from sales or services, interest, rent, and commission. Then there are expenses. This is like capital expenses, operating expenses, and financial expenses. Investments. Investments are money set aside for future use. Surplus money must be invested to gain interest. We get short investments and long-term investments. Short-term investments is like your savings accounts, your notice accounts, and your money market accounts. Your long-term investments. Here we're looking at fixed deposits, debentures, government bonds, property, shares. High-risk investments offer high risk on returns, and low-risk investments are stable, but they offer low returns. So high risk, high return. Low risk, low return. The differences when looking at capital, we get fixed capital and working capital. Fixed capital. Here we are looking at the money pays fixed assets. So here we're looking at land and buildings. Finances the long-term capital needs of a business. Examples are the capital market, selling shares, and mortgage bonds. Working capital, on the other hand, this is money that pays for day-to-day activities, tracking of stock, raw materials. Finance the short-term capital needs of the business. So here examples we're looking at the money market, the credit allowed by suppliers, short-term loans. A nice way to remember this, at least it's a way that I remember it, is fixed capital. We're looking at it's fixed. If we bought land, it is at a certain price. Working capital means we're constantly working with it. We're working with it. Okay, so working capital, it's ongoing. We're constantly working with it. Fixed capital, those are more long-term things that can't really be changed day to day. Then we're looking at own and borrowed capital. So our own capital, the owner provides capital. Have he contributes a vehicle to the business? That's our own capital. Permanent capital as a company is not under obligation to repay the amount. It is not a liability for the business. And return on capital is on profits. Borrowed capital. This is obtained from financial institutions. Temporary capital that needs to be repaid after a fixed period. It is a liability for the business. And return on capital is paid in the form of interest. All right, number 4, the purchasing function. With the purchasing function, the aim of the purchasing function is to make sure that the business has all the necessary goods and services needed to run the business effectively. It should continuously look for suitable, new, and better suppliers. It should place orders with suppliers and follow up with them to ensure that the ordered products are delivered on time. It should ensure that ordered goods are delivered at the agreed price, right quantities, and the right quality. So when we're looking at the purchasing function, we mainly need to look at the stock that's being received and what we are purchasing in order to resell. So purchasing could be for resale, conversion into semi-finished or finished products, or our own use, such as cleaning materials and transport. So when we're looking at the conversion to semi and finished products, there we're looking at a company that maybe makes dresses. So the products that are going to be purchased and delivered to us are the material to make the dresses and make the clothing. Perhaps we're a furniture store, so the wood is going to be distributed to us. The wood, the material, the steel, in order to make the furniture. And then we will make the furniture and sell it as a finished product. So with purchasing, there are procedures or processes involved. So the step 1 is purchasing requisition. Step 2 is to gather information. Step 3 is to choose a suitable supplier. Step 4 is to place an order. Step 5 is to follow up. Step 6 is to receive the stock ordered. Step 7 is to distribute the goods. And step 8 is to pay the supplier and file the documents. The documents we're referring to is the stock list and the receipt. Activities of the purchasing function. So we need to make sure that we're purchasing at the right quality, the right quantity, the right supplier, and the right price. Stock control. Have a system to check how much stock is available. Keep records of changes in stock. This can be done electronically. So when we purchase new stock, we will scan it in and place it as new stock into the company. When stock is being sold, it'll remove it from the system. Electronic systems keep record of cost and sale prices and help to keep the right levels of stock. Poor stock control can affect cash flow negatively. For better cash flow, the business must buy on credit from suppliers and sell for cash. Buying stock for cash and selling on credit results in a cash flow problem because we're buying all of this on cash, but then our suppliers, our customers who are buying from us on credit, they're only going to pay us back small amounts every month. So this could have a negative effect on our cash flow. Cash payments. Cash payments refer to all payments made cash or check for business purchases immediately. Cash payments have an immediate effect on the cash flow of the business because we're physically getting the cash. We have it on hand. Cash payments can qualify for cash discounts. It's why normally if you pay cash for something, it's normally a bit cheaper than if you buy it on credit. Credit payments. Credit payments refer to all payments on a future date. Buy now, pay later. Credit payments result in the creation of assets, so receivable, liabilities of the business, and they are payable. The credit payer can pay more for the goods because of the interest added on the credit payments. And generally, you normally pay about double for these goods. The National Credit Act, the NCA. The Act gives rights to consumers and helps them to be informed to make the right decisions. This Act applies to all businesses that sell on credit. So what is the purpose of this Act? It promotes the development of a credit market that is accessible to all South Africans. It encourages responsible buying. It avoids over-indebtedness and fulfillment of credit providers and consumers. It addresses the correct imbalances in negotiating power between the consumers and the credit providers. It discourages reckless credit granting by credit providers. That's normally where the credit score comes involved. They look at your credit score because you don't want to have this person that's getting more and more indebted and then they're drowning in debt. So that's where the credit score came in handy, is that businesses can see, can this person repay it? Are we going to drown this person in debt? And it's actually protecting the consumer at the end of the day. It educates consumers on making the right choice when applying for credit. And it gives guidelines within the different kinds of credit transactions that must take place in South Africa. The NCA introduces new rights for consumers. So, the right to fair credit marketing practices, the right to apply for credits, the right to be protected from unfair discrimination in granting credits, the right to be given a reason as to why the application was refused, the right to be informed about the interest rate and the other costs of the proposed credit transaction before the consumer enters into the credit agreement, the right to receive a credit contract in plain understandable language, the right to receive a copy of the credit contract and a replacement copy when the consumer asks for one, and the right to apply for debt counseling if the consumer is in too much debt. The National Credit Act also introduced responsibilities for the credit providers. They must lend money in a responsible way. Make sure consumers cannot borrow more than they cannot afford. Make sure consumers don't borrow more than they cannot afford. Ensure that the full cost of the credit purchase is shown. Ensure the customers that they understand the costs, the risks and the obligations of this credit agreement, ensure that documentation is written in plain and understandable language, and then credit providers are prohibited from the National Credit Act from making use of misleading or deceptive advertising, harassing customers to apply for credit, so constantly bugging them, buy on credit, buy on credit, increasing customers' credit limit without their permission, charging customers more than the specified service fees and charges required. The remedies for this act. The National Consumer Tribunal acts as an informal court by listening to consumers' complaints about the credit agreements or the credit providers. The tribunal aims to solve problems that consumers experience. It can order a credit provider to comply with the stipulations of the NCA. The impact of the NCA on the purchasing function. The NCA has a positive impact on credit purchases for businesses. Every business is now protected against misleading credit suppliers that charge high costs and interest rates on credit agreements. So there are positives and advantages as well as negatives and disadvantages. The positives is that it lowers bad debts, resulting in better cash flow. It protects businesses against non-paying customers. It increases cash sales as credit can only be granted to qualifying customers. It prevents reckless lending by financial institutions. It ensures that businesses settle their debts on time so that they can obtain good credit scores. It ensures that the credit process is transparent. So, for example, both the business and the consumer know their responsibilities. The disadvantages. The negatives or the disadvantages. Businesses are forced to budget to keep more cash, have enough cash on hand to purchase stock. The businesses can no longer take the risk of selling poor quality goods at higher prices. Businesses can no longer carry out credit marketing. Leads to loss of sales as many businesses may no longer qualify to buy on credit. Businesses can only buy limited stock as credit is not available, resulting in loss of customers. It complicates the purchasing process because of too much administration work that needs to be provided for the credit process. The National Consumer Protection Act. This act gives consumers far more rights to hold suppliers accountable, and its purpose includes protecting consumers from misleading marketers, offering consumers protection, helping historically disadvantaged people to know their rights. So the purpose of the CPA. It promotes responsible consumer behavior. It strengthens a culture of consumer rights and responsibilities. It establishes a national standard to protect consumers. It establishes a National Consumer Commission, NCC. It ensures that customers have access to information they need to make informed choices. It provides guidelines for better consumer information, and it prohibits unfair business practices. It empowers consumers to take legal action if their rights are not being upheld. It promotes fair/accessible and sustainable places for people to sell their products. And it protects consumers against contracts that include unfair terms which limit the liability of the suppliers. The Act specifies consumer rights. So the following are the consumer rights. The right to equality in terms of marketing. The right to protection by limiting unwanted direct marketing. the choice and authorization of the purchasers of goods and services, the right to disclosure and information, which means that information about the product must be in plain, understandable language, the right to fair and responsible marketing, so the consumers are not being misled by false marketing, the right to honest dealing and fair agreements, the right to fair, just, and reasonable terms and conditions to protect consumers from dishonest marketers, the right to fair value, good quality, and safety of goods and services. The remedies, therefore, of the National Consumer Protection Act. If consumers feel that their right has been violated by suppliers, complaints can be taken to the Consumer Tribunal, the National Consumer Commission, a consumer court, or any other court who can rule over the dispute, and an applicable ombudsman. Then we're looking at the impact of the National Credit Act and the National Consumer Protection Act on the purchasing function. The purchasing function will have to make sure that they purchase quality products from responsible suppliers because consumers are protected by the Consumer Protection Act. So again, we've got the positives and the advantages as well as the negatives and the disadvantages. So the positives. Businesses must be safeguarded from dishonest competitors. Businesses may be protected if they are regarded as consumers. It prevents larger businesses from undermining small businesses. And it may gain consumer loyalty if they comply with the Consumer Protection Act. It enables businesses to resolve disputes fairly through the National Consumer Commission, the Consumer Court, or the Industrial Ombudsman. Businesses may build a good image if they ensure that they do not violate the consumer rights. And then the negatives, the disadvantages. Confidential business information may become available to competitors. Penalties for non-compliance can be very high. Businesses may feel unnecessarily burdened by these legal processes. They have to disclose more information about their products and their processes and services. Staff need to be trained. Legal experts need to be consulted, which can increase the costs. Number 5, public relations function. The importance of the public relations function. Public relations needs to create a good name and positive image. Good relations with stakeholders like employees, suppliers, consumers, government, trade union, and media are needed. Some important aspects are making sure that employees are happy and they treat the customers well by supporting environmental projects, supporting community projects by building positive relationships with trade unions, acting ethically, being responsible, complying with legislation to avoid bad publicity. We have external public relations and internal public relations. External creates a good company image and awareness from outside of the business. Internal public relations creates a good company image and awareness to employees inside the business. So external is outside, internal, inside. The methods of public relations. So we have the media, direct contact and communication, brochures and pamphlets, shows and exhibitions, and social responsibility, so community service. Alright, so we have reached the end of the video. I did notice that we didn't get through all 8 of the business functions. These 5 were the main important ones for business studies for grade 10, so make sure that you study those. As mentioned, I did provide a brief description of the other 3 that you're more than welcome to study further as well. Please check out the resources. As I mentioned, there are free downloads and free study guides and user guides that students can make use of, and I find them very helpful. I make use of these in my slides, As mentioned in the beginning of the video, I don't take credit and I'm not being paid for the resources being made use in these videos. Thank you again for watching my video. I hope that you've made loads of notes, and I want to wish you all the best for your exams coming up now in March. And may you have a restful holiday when those do come up. I know they're coming up soon. Thank you for the support with my YouTube channel. Thank you for every like, every follow, every subscriber, and every view. I appreciate it with my whole heart. Thank you so much. If you like this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and to subscribe to my channel for more business studies. I can't wait to see you in my next video. Bye for now.